Let me ask you about this issue. When I first read the headlines, Rand Paul opposes Civil Rights Act, and you saw what happened and the firestorm that created. Then I actually went and read your statement. And I, like everything else, don't ever trust the media. I got a very different perspective, because your statement was, let me be clear. I support the Civil Rights Act because I overwhelmingly agree with the intent of the legislation, which was to stop discrimination in the public sphere and halt the abhorrent practice of segregation and Jim Crow laws. That's not the way that it was spun in the media, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to explain it yourself.
For a week, I had people saying I was in favor of Jim Crow laws, which I'm absolutely and always have been opposed to. The interesting thing is, I started out the discussion because one of the things that fascinates me about our history is that when you read about William Lloyd Garrison, he was an abolitionist up in Boston. He was beaten, drugged through the streets, flogged. He wrote for 30 or 40 years on trying to get rid of slavery before it happened. He pushed the politicians in that direction. But the interesting thing is, in 1840, he and Frederick Douglass got rid of segregation on public transportation in Boston. But it took us 120 more years to do it in the South. And that, I think, is a problem. And I think ultimately we did have to have federal intervention to get rid of it. A lot of the intervention was to get rid of laws, though. There were a lot of bad laws and a lot of bad government, and racists were using the laws to promote segregation and to promote racism. So, yeah, we absolutely did have a need for that.
You said something in defense of yourself, like you would find racist language abhorrent, but would we limit people from expressing free speech rights? And it seemed to me that you were answering it rhetorically.
I think what it is we can get into the philosophic discussion of our society will put up with bad things, because even with the Civil Rights Act, we don't control people's thought process. We don't control all the decisions they make. We do control some, and I think it was necessary that we did, but there are still some things that happen in our society that are unsavory, and they're unsavory people. They're unsavory speech. There's hateful speech. There are people who are intolerant, but we put up with some of that in a free society, and that's what I was trying to get to. But meanwhile, I didn't realize while I was having this discussion that 2 hours previously my Democrat opponent had gone on saying I was for repeal of the Civil Rights Act. So this was all in the context of, I think, basically the Democrat National Committee decided, here's this guy, he's doing great, look at the Tea Party, look what the Tea Party's doing, we have to damage the Tea Party, we've always wanted to call them racist, so here's our chance, let's make up this, and then direct the whole debate that way. Well, but then I was misquoted in the New York Times on the whole thing.
Yeah, what a shock.
They really, what they did is, and even the program that I was on came out to defend me later on, because they took out some of the garbled crosstalk. Like, let's say you and I had a discussion and an argument for a minute.
I'm coming up on a hard break, Rand. I don't mean to do this to you, but it's just through the constraints of time. Will you come back again? We'd like to interview you again in the future if you have some time, and we're going to continue to follow your campaign, if that's okay with you.
Love to.
All right, Rand Paul, and all the best to your father and all of his supporters that threw snowballs at me in New Hampshire.
Sean Hannity.